Hi everyone, this is Miss Tom with Chapter 8, Closure Day 1. Alright everybody, we're going to do Day 1, which means because it's a closure, I'd like you to try the problems on your own. We'll go over it together, and then you can enter the solutions in on Canvas. The key is to pause the video, try the problems on your own, and then check to see if you have the understanding. Alright, so let's get started. First of all, we're talking about Chula Vista Middle School, our school, and we've got tomato plants that are selling for $1 each. I'm going to circle that. Then we have rose plants that sell for $2 each. And Miss Bishop wants to buy 25 plants. She wants to buy 25 plants, okay? And she has $40 to spend. Alright, so a couple of things when we're looking at this question. We know with this question that there are a lot of things going on. So to simplify it, I'm just going to go ahead and write some let statements. Let statements are just kind of like letting us know what kind of variables we're using. So the let statement I'm going to use is I'm going to represent this T as tomatoes. And then I'm going to represent R as roses. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to set up the equations. And the equations look like this. Well, one of them, if we notice, is going to be a cost equation. And then the other one is going to be the quantity equation, meaning how many are there. So I'm going to write over here, we're going to write cost. And with cost, let's break down the costs. So it costs $1 for tomatoes, and it costs $2 for roses. And how much money does Miss Bishop have to spend? She has $40 to spend. Next thing we're doing is we're going to talk about the quantity. So we want to know how many. So we have the quantity. And we know she wants to buy tomatoes and she wants to buy roses, but we don't know how many. So we're going to say she wants to buy tomatoes, she wants to buy roses. Again, we don't know how many, that's why we're leaving it as T and R, but we do know she wants to buy 25 plants in total. So what we're going to do now is we want to try to set it up so that one of these kind of gets rid of each other. We get a zero pair. That way we can solve for one of the variables. So looking here, 2R and R, that's not going to cancel out with a zero pair very easily, but T and T can cancel out if one of them is negative. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to multiply everything by -1, and the reason why is because then we will get a zero pair. So let's go ahead and do that. You know, I want to make sure this makes a lot of sense to you guys, so I'm going to rewrite it over here, where I'm just going to rewrite 1t plus 2r. I know this seems like a lot of extra work, but it's just so that it's clear for you guys to see, okay? So then I rewrote it. Now I'm going to distribute -1 times t, that's -1t, -1 times r, that is -1r, and that's going to equal to, that negative again is distributing, -25. Alrighty, then drawing that line, circling our zero pair, this goes by. Then we've got 2r minus r, which is just r. And we know 40 minus 25 is going to be 15. Alright, so that means we know that Miss Bishop bought 15 roses. Now if she bought 15 roses, how do you figure out how many tomatoes she purchased? Well, let's use this formula with the quantity because it's going to tell us how much. So we know it says T plus R is equal to 25, right? But what are we going to do? We're going to substitute that 15 for R. And then we're going to have the T there. And we say that's equal to 25. Now you can do this in your head where you go, okay, something plus 15 is 25. Or you can subtract the 15 really up to you, whatever style works best for you. And then you'll end up getting your answer, which means that the tomatoes were 10. So in the end, what did Miss Bishop purchase? She purchased 10. She purchased 10 tomatoes and 15 roses. All right. Okay, there we go. Yay! Next, let's go over the next question. All right, this is another system of equations. All right, but this time I'm gonna just kind of rewrite it over here. What we see, it's similar to the problem before. The only thing is that there's no real context for the question. All I want to see is, can you solve it? And what do you notice? All right, so first of all, what do you notice? Well, first of all, I noticed there's a 2x and a 3x. That's not going to be very easy to eliminate, but y and negative 4y is going to be kind of easy to eliminate because one of them's already negative. If this was what number, what would make it so it's a 0 pair? Oh yes, a 4. If this was a positive 4 and this is a negative 4, then that would make a 0 pair. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply all of this by 4. Okay, and so when we do that, again, I'm going to draw my line here just so I know, okay, got that. This 4 is going to distribute over here to make it 8x. Over here it's going to distribute 4y. And over here it's going to distribute 28. Then we go ahead and we look at the bottom values, and we've got 3x minus 4y is equal to 5. Now what are we doing here? We're going to be adding these guys, and when we add them, let's see what we notice here. So we notice that 4y and negative 4y is a 0 pair. And then we also notice that 8x plus 3x is going to be 11x, and that's going to be equal to 28 plus 5, which is 33. Then what do we do next? Well, we're going to divide by 11. What we do to one side, we do to the other, and so we get x is equal to 3. If you got that, nice work! Okay, next thing is we are going to go ahead and write down 3x minus 4y. All I'm doing is using that second equation. You guys see this second equation right here? That's all I'm doing. I'm using that one. All right, and then instead of the x, we're putting in a 3. And then we're going to go minus 4y is equal to 5. Again, continuing to solve, this is going to be 9 minus 4y is equal to 5. Continuing on, it looks like this answer is not going to be a whole number. So we're going to go subtract the 9 from both sides. Or is it? Actually, no, it is. I spoke too soon. Then we go negative 4y is equal to negative 4. And then we're going to divide by negative 4. And a negative divided by a negative, class, is a positive. Positive 1. Yes. So what's our solution? It is 3. Where do we get that 3? From here. And what is our y value? It is here. And voila, you've got the solution to your system. So the other question had context, this one doesn't. Basically what it means is you've got a coordinate grid, you have two sets of lines, and where is their intersection point? Their intersection point is here, which you can label as 3, 1. That's basically what it means. It's solving where's the intersection point. Alright, let's keep going. Okay, now we're going to solve for y. So let's solve for y. Everybody, we're going to slice that down. Notice which side has more y's. This side or this side? Ah, you're right. It's the right side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out, okay, that has more y's, so this one goes away. We're going to add 2y to both sides. What I do to one, do to the other. Then we draw a line there. This is going to be a 0 pair. Bye. We've got 1 is equal to y plus 2y is 3y minus 5. Then what are we going to do with that minus 5? We are going to add 5. What I do to one side, we do to the other. Then this goes by. So now we are at 6 is equal to 3y. Then we're solving for y. We want y to be on its own, so we are going to divide by 3. What I do to one, do the other. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. Nice work. Next, we're going to go ahead and do number 3b. Okay, once again, we're solving for y. So 2 times 6 is going to be 12. 2 times negative 2y is going to be negative 4y is equal to 4y minus 8. Then we want to solve for y, so let's go ahead and figure out which side has more y's, this side or that side. It's this side, the right side. So we're going to add plus 4y. Feel free to talk as you're listening to the video, because it'll make it more interesting. You're like, oh, Miss Tom, we're gonna do this and then this, and I know it might sound silly, but maybe it'll help you. Then what we're going to do is we're going to notice that the minus 8 is there. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. Why are we doing that? Because it makes a 0 pair. Then we've got 2y, or 12 plus 8, which is 20, is equal to 8y. Then lastly, we're going to divide by 8. And we get y is equal to 20 divided by 8. Now 20 divided by 8 is the same thing as 2 and 1/2. Okay? And 2 and 1/2, what is that? That's known as 2.5. And that's the answer that you will put into Canvas as your answer. Okay? Alright, so far so good. Okay, last one here. This one we're solving for y, but I want you to notice that there's a x variable there. Don't worry about that. We can still take care of it. We want to isolate y. We want to make y on its own. So how do we do that? Subtract the 8x, of course. Subtracting it from both sides. Then we're like, okay, that goes out of here. Bye. Then we've got, actually, I believe on yours, I changed this to a 4. So that should have been a 4y. So then 4y is equal to 12 minus 8x. Then what we're going to do is divide by that 4. Remember, notice how I'm doing that to everything, okay? Wow, those 4s are really, really bad looking. There we go. Oh, okay. Alright, here you go. Then we go y is equal to 12 divided by 4 is 3. And negative 8x divided by 4 is negative 2. And yay, we've got it. 3 minus 2x. Alright, we are on to the last question of Chapter 8, Closure Day 1. That's this one. Alright, real quick, quarantine style. I made these problems based on quarantine style. I'm sure as the months go on, your hair is growing. Your hair is growing a lot. So with that hair growth, you gotta figure out, okay, what about if we're in quarantine for 3 months, 4 months? How long is it gonna be? You don't actually have to wait to figure that out. You can calculate it. So let's say you notice your hair was growing exponentially, and then you're like, okay, how long is it gonna be until 3 months from now? So this is actually what a lot of stores do when they're trying to figure out how much of something to buy. They have to do a lot of calculations. So you want to calculate your hair length, well, you got to do this. You recorded some data, and let's see what happened. Well, when you're trying to find out the multiplier between here and here, you want to figure out, well, how does 3.1 become 4 and 34 hundredths? Well, you just go ahead and look here and you go, I don't know, but I do know opposite of multiplication is division. So if I divide it, we're going to get 1 and 4 tenths. So 1 and 4 tenths is what we're multiplying by. Let's see if that's the same case for the next one. So we're taking 6 and 76 hundredths divided by, or thousandths, and divided by 4 and 34 hundredths. What do we get? Ah, it's the same. So that's going to be our multiplier in our exponential equation. And then once again, let's go ahead and use that model where we go, what do we have here? Times 1.4, okay. So we get 8 and 5,064, okay, 8 and 5,064. And then we're going to take that number and multiply it again by 1.4. And we get 90,896. 90,806. Did I write that down right? 96. There we go. All right, and what is your equation? Well, our equation is based on this generalized formula where we know y is equal to a being our y-intercept, this guy, and then b is our multiplier, which is this guy, and we raise it to the x power because we want to use it for any month value and to find out the hair length. So let's write that. We're going to write y is equal to a, which we found right here, and then b, which we found right here, and we're raising that to the x power. Alright, let's see if you guys can figure out the next one. This one's a little bit more challenging because there's a missing number here. So you kind of have to figure out, alright, let's talk about game hours. Alright, so these are the number of months and this is how much gameplay you've put into the quarantine time. So if you've gone 3 hours in the, before the quarantine started, and then 108 after 2 months, what's going on here? Well, again, we want to do the same thing that we did here where we divided. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and divide 108 divided by 3. So we're going to get a differential of 36, right? So 3 times 36 is going to be 108. But if 108 was at the 1 month, then we'd know the multiplier was 108. However, it's not. It's between here. We're jumping 2 months. So since you're jumping 2 months, you have to figure out we're multiplying. You can't just go 36 divided by the 2 months. That's incorrect. What you have to do is 36 is something, it's a squared value. Meaning, how do you find the b value? Well, this is a differential of 2. So we'd actually say there's like a b squared. And this is a differential of 36. So how do you find b then? Well, you're going to say, okay, something squared is 36. That something squared, you can either take the root of both sides or just figure out mentally. And then you're going to find out that b is actually equal to 6. And let's check that here. Is 3 times over here, 3 times 6 is going to be 18. Is 18 times 6 equal to 108? Let's find out. Yes, it is. And so we know our multiplier is going to be 6. So times 6 each time. We're going to multiply again by 6. 108 times 6. Get 648. And then again, 648 times another 6. We get 3,888. Alrighty, very nice. And then what is going to be our equation Well, we're going to write y is equal to, our y-intercept is going to be 3. That's from here. And our multiplier is going to be 6, and we are raising that to the x power. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next one.